I'll just plug you back in and start you off. We're about to kick off, so I'll hand over to you straight away. And then, oops. Oh, what are you there? Do that, do that. I can make a big loud noise. Alright, I'm going to kick us off.
Yeah.
Say hello to everybody. Haven't got the actual board due to cutbacks. So, kia ora koutou, welcome everybody to Futureslam for August. We're going to spend some time talking about chatbots this afternoon. Welcome to museum staff and our external guests from organisations across Auckland. As always, we're going to try and dispel a few myths, and this afternoon we're doing that about chatbots. So, what is a bot versus, is that AI? Is it scripted, or does it know how to respond to you in real time? Like, what does that mean? So we've asked Giovanni Vigorelli to come and speak with us. Giovanni is originally from Italy and has been working for IBM for 18 years and is a software specialist who has worked across Europe and Australia and now living in New Zealand. So Giovanni's got some examples of what exactly is a chatbot, and specifically some examples that are all powered by IBM Watson, which is a very powerful chatbot software. And yeah, so I'll hand over to Giovanni, and then just as a bit of an FYI about the session, Giovanni's going to talk for about half of it, and then after that we're going to kick off a workshop, which is why you're all seated around tables today. So stay in the groups you're in, it looks like you're in a good sort of spread, and we'll touch base a little bit more about what we'll be doing to work on chatbot ideas at that point. So yeah, so I'll hand over to Giovanni. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, again, I'm Giovanni from IBM, and talking to Ben about this session, we thought, okay, how can we make this half an hour, 20 minutes interesting and not just being boring with the usual bubble on chatbot. So we put together an agenda, and want to try to differentiate what is a chatbot compared to AI. There is a relation between the two, and what is this relationship, and then what is a conversational agent, which is basically a fancier term for a chatbot. I like this one the better. And what are the advantages of a chatbot? Is a real thing? Is just an hype? We try to understand a bit of this. And then I'll give you a few examples, trying to give you an idea of what a conversational agent can be used for, and not what is just the common thinking about a chatbot. And eventually, if it's time, we'll try to make a simple chatbot together, so you have the feel on how everybody can actually build its own chatbot if he wants. So, difference between a chatbot and AI. When I have to define something, I always start from Wikipedia, because every once in a while I give them, let's say, a few dollars, so I feel the right to grab information from there, right? But this time I got really disappointed. I mean, come on, guys. Artificial intelligence is intelligence demonstrated by machines. How can you give a definition with the same word of what you use, right? So one day my son, I was with my motorcycle, and he asked me, what is that thing? And I told him, it's the carburetor. And he asked me, what is the carburetor? What if I answered to him, a carburetor is something used to carburate the bike, so it doesn't really work, right? So I found a different source, and this is to me a bit more explanatory. So artificial intelligence is an area of computer science that emphasizes the creation of intelligence machines that work and react like humans. So that's to me a much more clear definition of what artificial intelligence is or can be. So if we try to map this to humans, so what artificial intelligence can do to behave like human. So one is conversation. So we are, let's say, social people, most of us. So we like talking to each other. So being able to conversate, to talk to each other is one of our main characteristics. But conversation itself It's just a little part of us as a human being. So we do more. So first conversation needs some support. So being able to talk, to understand what we say to each other. So those are other things that computers must do to behave like humans. And then being able to recognize things. So eyes and visual are a big part of us to create our knowledge and communicate to each other. And back to thinking to the conversation. A conversation itself is really poor if we cannot add any value. So being able to, okay, language translator with me talking is a bit a poor example with my accent, but let's skip over. So if you go like natural language understanding, so being able to understand beyond words, being able to understand personality and the tone of what people are saying. So if we combine all those things, we can create a real compelling and a real useful AI system. And in our view, in IBM view, an artificial intelligence system shouldn't replace a human because there are still places where we can give, let's say, a lot of value. Nowadays, machines are much better than us on knowledge location. If you think about when you need information, what to do? You go on Google, you search, and Google in no time give you any answer. So machines are so much better than us in finding information. They are really good on pattern identification. They can easily identify things and cluster of things. And more than all, they have endless capacity. They don't sleep and then just work over and over. But we still have, let's say, an edge on other things, like common sense, morals, and compassion. That's something that really differentiates us. And that's where we have to focus ourselves to work with machine and using machines to do our job better. I'll try to give a few examples of chatbot where we can use, let's say, those characteristics. Now, what is a conversational agent all over? Okay, so what is a conversation? Let's start from here. A conversation is just two people or two entities talking to each other. So if I'm the guy on the left and I say, okay, I'm Giovanni, how can I help you? And someone tell me, good day, I want to buy tickets. Yeah, sure. What exhibition you like? That's an extremely simple conversation for people. For us, it takes no time and nothing to understand this. But we build this understanding in my case, 44 years of life. For a few of you, a bit less. But you build this knowledge, this ability throughout your life. So the real complex things for a computer is understanding. Because eventually computers work even the most powerful in 0 and 1. So we have to help them to understand things beyond simple keyword search. Like in this simple sentence, like good day, it's not really important. It's not relevant to what the user is trying to tell me. What is important here is that this person wants to buy something and want to buy tickets. So if I can, as a computer, map those things in a way that I can actually understand what the user is saying, then it's very simple to build a dialogue and creating a response for this person. So usually in chatbots, and if you have time to build one together, we'll see that there are two very important concepts that are intents, which is what the user wants to do, and entities that are what is the object that the user is trying to communicate to. Like for buying, can be tickets, can be gadgets, can be in museum, I don't know, I think I'm done with your shop and tickets. But it can be anything else. You want to ask informations, you want to have, let's say, more things. So understanding is really the hard part for computers to being able to perform their job. So eventually, a chatbot or a conversation is an intelligent system that understands human language. Now, I try to de-emphasize the second part, first because purposely it's really hard for me to say, so I try not to say it. And then second, because that's not the hard part. Once the computer can understand what the user wants, then we can actually find knowledge somewhere to respond. Like in the case of Auckland Museum, I know that the 99% of the knowledge is not all around the exhibition, is in the basement. So we can connect our bot to to find all those amazing information that are hidden in systems, in places where you can plug into it and respond by creating a compelling experience with the user. And on the understanding part of the chatbot story, this is an interesting test. So Turing test is something that has been made in 1950. That's how old is artificial intelligence. And Turing is this person who built this test and saying that, okay, the artificial intelligence will be at a good level when a person can talk to a machine and not be able to understand if it's a person or a machine. And a few cases passed this test, but for the majority of the case, it's really easy to identify a machine compared to a human. So in more than 70 years, technology is evolving to get to pass this Turing test. Now, advantages of a chatbot, or another question could be how a chatbot is relevant today. And I try to take this from an history perspective. So if we start from a recent past, we start from computers. If you think about probably 20, 15 years ago, companies, organizations were asking, okay, should I build a website for my company or not? And nowadays, it's not an option. Website is just part of the nature of any business. And then with technology changing, we got tablets, and we got phones, and eventually we got now wearable. And what you can see here is a pattern. So the real estate of a screen is shrinking, the keyboard is disappearing, and we are still interacting with technology. And the latest evolution in these sequences, systems are able to collect and gather information without a screen, without a keyboard. So I'm not saying that those things are dead, they are still very relevant. We are still using or need those things, but there is an evolution, and this evolution is growing very much. So according to a few, voice is going to be the interface of the future. And this is, again, if we see how the technology is evolving, I'm very much on this idea. Another interesting stat I found is the comparison between the messaging application, the like of WhatsApp and WeChat, compared to social media like Facebook and Twitter. The usage of the conversational system, the messaging apps, have a much more penetration than social networks. So again, we are more prone to conversate, to have dialogue, to whatever it is. With WhatsApp is probably talking to person, but now with chatbot embedded in Facebook Messenger, we can see conversation in those things more and more. And then again, there are so many use cases for chatbot that it's hard to condense everything in a 20-minute session. I just took one example to make not a comparison, but to see how a chatbot can add value to a human agent. And there are three main things that a chatbot can help, can work alongside to a human agent. First is always available. That's an easy pick, right? A chatbot doesn't go on leave, doesn't sleep, is always available. Second, chatbot, or the most advanced one, are able to remember information. They have context. So when you start a chat with the system can collect information about your name, your age, what you've done with the bot, with the system in past. And every time you talk to the system again, it can remember things and carry on the conversation and giving you, let's say, more, let's say, in-depth conversation. And eventually it's consistency. Consistency is probably relevant not in all use cases. Maybe in an artistic way, consistency is not so important. But if you think about regulatory system like banks or insurances, consistency is a must. So it's really important. Having said that, so with all those beauties, are human agents lost? Not really, because human agents can be, let's say, assisted, can get help from chatbot for most of the things that are usually the most boring things. Like I call the the museum to talk to Ben before, and the first information that the phone system told me was the opening hour of the museum. That's because people, probably 80% of the time, they ask about, okay, what are the business hours of the museum? So if the business, a human agent has to respond to 25,000 times a day, yeah, we're open Monday to Sunday from 10 to 7, it's not really a rewarding job. So he wants to do the 20% of the things that are, let's say, unique, where the person can add some value and provide a unique experience, not giving the opening time. Cool. And is there any real example? So I tried to get 4 examples of how we, myself, work with some company for creating, let's say, bot experience. I didn't go by industry. I tried to give you an idea of how a conversational system can be used in so many different ways, giving users and people a different experience. So let me start with the real one, with a live one. This is sorry for the back in there. That's what you would probably expect a chatbot to be. So this is a software company, and they built, let's say, an assistant for helping people to answer questions about their software. Like, and here I can ask to the system, what can you help with? And the system is responding me. I can help you with registration, activation, and I can carry on. I can say I have an installation problem, and the conversation carries on. The system gives me some hints, and that's a very, very common way for building chatbot, like how you were exchanging messaging with the person. That's let's say, very common for support system and giving information from website. A very different experience is what the North Face built. So the first example was the purpose of the bot was to help people finding information. In this case, the purpose of the bot for North Face was selling more jackets. So they're using the technology not for helping people, they are, but the main idea is to selling more jackets. So they had to create a very different user experience to create the idea of having someone who can recommend you what you need for your experience. Basically, a shop assistant in this case. And if you start this chat, again, the look and feel is different. I'm actually prompt to ask specific questions. So the system is guiding me to do something. So the system is asking me, okay, where and when will you be using the jacket? I guess, you know, I'm going to London in December. And now the chatbot system is understanding what I said, the location and the time. And in the back is doing something more. Okay, London is on the northern hemisphere, December, so it's probably cold. So it's doing a lot of thinking on the back, right? And he's asking, okay, what is jacket for? And I can say, okay, it's for my wife. And again, here, I'm not telling him specific things. I'm not telling him female. I'm not telling him like a checkbox. I'm actually telling him things in a way I would tell to anybody, like wife, girlfriend, husband, son, and the system can understand the context of what I'm saying and coming back with something. So in this case, the system is coming back with a few recommendations, saying London, December is probably cold, there's no wind in London, not sure if it's true, and it's giving me some recommendation. Again, this is a different way for interacting with the system, with a conversational agent in the back. So the engine of everything is the conversation, but I'm building a different, unique user experience. The next couple of examples that I have are actually very local companies, the game changers. So those two companies, Soul Machines and FaceMe. Have you heard about those two companies? Okay. So they are building, based on conversations and other AI elements, basically avatars. So digital humans being able to having an interaction with people, not just from a conversational perspective, but from emotional and an appearance perspective. For the first case, it's FaceMe. They built this digital agent for UBS. The use case here is this guy, Daniel Kant, is the chief economist in the bank. So it's a very senior person, and everybody would like to have this guy in the room with meetings with customers. So UBS built these smart meeting systems where clients and people from the bank are in meeting rooms, and this is a screen, and on the screen there is, let's say, a few things happening, and when people need help or advice from Daniel, they can fire up an agent, and Daniel can actually be in person in the room, assisting with his knowledge those people. Now, this doesn't pay too much to what FaceMe has done, but the next video would give you an idea of what is in real life. Next sample is from Soul Machines, and I think let's see if we need some audio here.
Magma from the Earth's core comes close to the surface and we end up with volcanoes, hot springs and geysers. But do you know molten rock from the atmosphere? Absolutely right. I thought rollerbilly. That is, yeah.
So it was a bit not too loud, but what I've seen is there's a digital person. It's not just, let's say, it's not a video. It's actually there, waiting for people telling him something, understanding what the person is asking, and responding back. And beyond that, with the camera, is looking at the face of the person interacting. I can see if the person is frowning, is sad, is happy, and can react accordingly. So again, conversation is a part of the agent of this digital human, but there is much more. They are creating a compelling emotional experience to work with people. In this case, it was done for kids. For the bank, was done for business. So that's the next level of interaction with conversation at the basics. What about art? So the last example I have on how we can use a chatbot is something that the Pinacoteca of São Paulo in Brazil has done using a conversational agent. Hopefully the audio will be loud enough, otherwise just pay more attention.
Há alguns estudiosos que dizem que diferencia mesmo os homens do resto dos animais é o potencial de fazer arte.
In Brazil, more than 70% of people have never been in a museum.
Eu gosto de arte, mas eu nunca tive a oportunidade de ir ao museu. Não é um ambiente que fala comigo.
O que esse jovem, ou o que esse público que fala que não tem interesse em museus está precisando? Uma dessas possibilidades é que ele quer interagir mais com as obras.
O grande desafio para nós era relacionar a inteligência artificial com a arte. Porque normalmente no museu você encontra o quê? Aquele rádiozinho que você vai ouvindo. Você não interage de fato.
That's why IBM and Pinacoteca created, with Watson's help, an application where people can literally talk to art. Curators and educators have researched about the history of Brazilian art with books, texts, interviews, biographies, old newspapers, and even current issues related to the art pieces. Then IBM spent 6 months teaching it to Watson so it could talk about each one of the paintings and sculptures.
Qual o contexto histórico dessa obra?
Quantas bananeiras tem no bananal?
E você gosta de jogar futebol?
Em 1934, o futebol já era um enorme sucesso no Brasil, mas trabalhando duro na lavoura, o mestiço provavelmente não tinha tempo para jogar.
Por que é um amor impossível?
O que são as duas figuras no quadro? Qual estilo de pintura foi usado nessa obra?
O bananal é uma mistura de dois estilos. O expressionismo é visto nas distorções da figura humana e o cubismo no paredão de folhas.
Eu acho super válido conversar com essa arte de uma forma direta, podendo fazer perguntas totalmente malucas, não tendo vergonha das perguntas que ela pode colocar.
Quantos anos ele tem? Essa obra é de 1967. Se estivesse vivo, esse pouco teria 50 anos e seria o pouco mais velho do mundo.
De quem você tem saudade?
Alguns elementos podem nos ajudar. O chapéu e o...
I think you got the idea. So, again, here, again, they use the conversation is one of the components of a much larger AI system that together can give this experience to the users. So, how do you make a chatbot? So, I think before the technology, it's really important to make some design consideration of a chatbot. And again, if you think about the chatbot, it can't be something that is built for everything. We need to identify a specific purpose for what you're building your system for. For North Face was selling jackets, for Pinacoteca was making art accessible in a different way, for the AVA was helping people on using technology. So you have to identify a specific purpose for what you're building your system for. Second is understanding the viewpoint. And the viewpoint is what is the chatbot in relation to the user? Is the chatbot like an assistant? Is the chatbot a teacher? Is a friend? Is helping on a shop? So you identify the character that the bot or the chatbot has in relation to the person. Because just with that, in that way, you can build a very specific and unique relation between the two. Second is the third is the proactivity. So how the bot is behaving in relation to the user. Like in the example of the help desk, the chatbot was sit back, was waiting for the user asking questions and was ready to answer questions. Wasn't pushing for any information. While in the North Face, the goal was to selling jackets. So the chatbot was asking questions. So where do you go? When do you go? Who's for? What do you want to buy? So it was pushing for information to get from the user to get where you want to go. And the fourth one is the tone personality. So depending on who is your audience, you want to build a bot that matches with that specific audience. For kids, Will, the vector digital human, was very friendly, was with the language super cool and chill for kids. While for the financial advisor, for the case of Daniel Kalt, was a very professional with a much higher language, without any joke, without any slang in the speech. And the last one is writing, is basically how do you write your answers? How do you respond to the user? The formality and the techniques you want to use for having your chatbot being successful in the experience. So those are the things you have to think whenever you want to build a chatbot. Technology is always the last thing to think of. You have to want to build the design first. Cool. I don't know if we have time. We have time? Cool. So the last thing is I wanted to give you an idea of how easy or not too difficult is to build a simple chatbot. So in this case, I'm using an IBM technology. It's called Watson Assistant. And the beauty of giving technology, providing technology in a way that is very consumable. So anybody can jump on, of course I'm pushing IBM because they pay me, but they all are the same. You can jump on IBM Cloud, get an account for free and no cost just with an email address, and you can use any of the system in our cloud with a slight plan at no cost. So accessibility of technology is no longer a wall or a problem for getting started with something. So any of you can jump on IBM Cloud and do what I'm doing now, like in the next 5 minutes. So that's one of the big things that is changing the way that technology is made available. So we saw before that to build a chatbot, there are two main things to build and understand. One is the intent, okay? So we're going to build an intent. So I want to teach my bot to understand what the user is saying. So first thing, the very simple one usually is greetings, okay? So I'm creating a greeting intent. So in this case, I'm giving the tool some example on how a user can interact with me. Can put in some Mari, ciao. So what I'm doing here is I'm giving examples on how a user could do greetings with me. Okay, so I'm training my tool to understand something. And I can give as many examples as I want, but the tool goes beyond the example I give. So the tool is able to then, during the conversation, during the iteration, get more than just examples I give. And then I can create another intent for, I don't know, opening hours. And again, I can give some examples. So how would you ask when the museum is open? Give me an example. What time do you close? Something else?
What time do you open?
That was a cool one. Okay.
What are your operating hours?
Mm.
Or opening hours?
Oh, are you open? Okay. So I'm giving the tool some training examples. And if you're going to go into the beginning of AI, this is called assistive machine learning. So I'm giving the tool some example to learn from. And again, it's not like a Google search. So I don't have to say, are you open, for the system to understand. The system is able to identify a pattern within this example and then being able to respond. Okay, now I built a few examples, and I could define intent, but I go straight into dialogue because I want to do the workshop. And the dialogue is basically the structure of my conversation. So in this case, I have my conversational notes, and a conversation always starts with an introduction. So in this case, my response will be, hello, I am, give me a name for a museum bot. News? Raja. I'm Raja. That's a very typical museum. Raja, how can I help you? And then I can create a node to understand what we built before. So in this case, we create an intent for, let's say, greetings, and I'm saying, okay, if the user is giving me an intent of greetings, what do I do? Okay, and here I can respond with, so, hello, how can I help you? I help you with, okay, and then I can go to my bot, and this is an example to very simple interface for testing it. And here, if I say like hello, the system is getting my meaning, the greetings, and is responding with my intent. And if I want to make my bot a bit more sophisticated. What about I can add my intent was for opening hours, and we are open Monday to Sunday from 10 to 5 p.m. Okay, and if we restart our bot, I can say, okay, I don't even remember in which way I ask when you're open. So what do you ask? Something like when, I don't know, are you open now? Okay, and the agent got the time open. Let's say he understands the meaning of my sentence and is responding to me. That's how easy it is to build a simple bot. Then when you want to do something more sophisticated, then sophistication arrives. But for let's say, for something simple, for getting started with, okay, let me play a bit with this, this is a really cool and easy system for starting. We ran a session similar to this last year, and there were two guys from Samcorp, and after the session they went out and on their free time they built something called RioBot, which is a bot with the intent of teaching Maori to people, and they embedded the bot into Facebook Messenger, and now they have let's say tens of people that are using the bot to try to improve their Maori skill with the bot. Again, done in their spare time without nothing from us. They didn't ask anything to us in terms of how to do things. They just tried and built something that was fun for them and useful for the community. That they are very much in the Maori community, and they are very happy about the result. Cool. That's what I wanted to show to you. Hopefully was interesting. I gave you an idea on what you can do with chatbots, how to get started, and hopefully some ideas on what you can do with your pen and papers on those tables.
Can you add links?
Yeah.
Rather than just, you know.
Yeah. So two things. Here you're building static content, and usually this is good for like 30% of your bot, like opening hours. It's very static, or greetings and hello. But when you want to do something more meaningful, usually a bot or the system is part of a larger application that intercept what the bot gets and connect to databases or system of records and other stuff. That's where the sophistication comes to play, and you need the techie guy in the basement for helping you building the, maybe it's you, the techie guy in the basement, I don't know. No. Make sense?
Yeah. Thanks, Giovanni. Thanks very much.
No worries.
So hopefully that gives you some ideas and gets you sort of brain pumping as to possibilities. And one thing that really, can we give Giovanni a applause? But one thing I think it definitely shows as well is that the core issue is like a conversational one, not a technological one. You saw how quickly and easily you can put things together. So you kind of need a solid point and a purpose or a problem to solve for something to be a good bot. Like, what is its purpose? And that range of things that they can now do, right from, there's one that recommends you good movies on Netflix. If you tell it a film you like and what you like or an actor you like, it'll start sending you links to trailers and things, and it'll know what's on Netflix in your location, which country you're in, right up to banking apps, medical diagnoses. They're all getting pretty sophisticated. So having one sort of problem to work on is kind of like the core matter. So there's a piece of A3 paper in the middle of your tables. If you flip them over, there's some sort of boxes there to populate from left to right, numbers 1 to 3. And we're going to sort of spend a bit of time just thinking about what problems you could solve or what you could work on in the museum context. That could be visitor facing, or it could be in your role or in your team. And I know there's a mixture not only between teams but also between organisations around tables. But it's just a chance to ideate and throw some stuff down on paper. So the column on the left-hand side is for blue sky thinking of what ideas for bots might be useful. The column in the middle looks at a problem, what your bot is trying to solve or what issue it's trying to tackle, purpose and how it's going to do that, like what's it going to recommend. So it could be something as simple as it's going to give you the opening times when you ask them. And then a sort of persona, so that point around, you know, what's its name or how's it going to chat with you, that kind of thing. And then if you've got time and you want to, on the right-hand side, you can actually jot down like a simple exchange because it just shows the idea in practice. And that's kind of it. And we'll run around and talk to everybody and see how you go. And yeah, we'll just do that for about 15 minutes. There's some times on there to give you guidelines, and I'll chat out some times as we go along. And we'll check it out again.
Excuse me, how do you get in touch with the chatbots? Are you going into the museum?
Okay, yeah. So that's the great point. So the idea that something can be embedded in a messenger app. So bots, the advantage of bots is that they will now be accessible in places that you don't have, that you already go. So we went through this crazy boom of apps for everything. There'd be an app for bloody everything, and then you'd get fatigued of needing to download a new app all the time for something. Whereas the idea that now they're integrated into things like Facebook Messenger, so a lot of this is going on within one app, is really appealing. And it's been very big in Asia with like WeChat, where you can do heaps through one app. You can order taxis, you can order food, you can make an appointment, you don't even have to leave the app, and I think that's where this will go. So the idea that those bots plug into stuff you already have, like in a Facebook Messenger app, it's already on your phone, you just search for the bot as though you want to search for the person that you want to speak to. You sort of think about it in that way. So you don't really need to even think about where it might be, but that's similar to what we've trialled at the museum. So Holly's Tamala Tui chatbot, which was a scavenger hunt bot that lived within Facebook Messenger. So visitors were directed to find it within Messenger, which is appealing because it's something that most people have already got on their phone. They don't feel as though they're being pushed to download something new. So that's another key advantage to a bot. Okay.
What can be your website? If you see many websites with the chat with me or chat, it's very easy to get to your website, Maritime Museum or Auckland Museum, and click the button and the bot comes up and you start chatting with it. So many different channels to use the same engine.
So you can just do a search engine search and just pop up from somewhere?
Yeah, if the application running it, absolutely.
Okay, cool. We'll give that a go for 15 minutes and we'll wander around and see what you're working on.